and we welcome in Joe Thomas, Browns legend, Hall of Famer. You know him, you love him. Hello, Joe.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing well. A lot of Browns fans not thrilled. Press conference on Saturday didn't go well for Deshaun Watson. I mean, you're a former player. I'm sure you've played. Now, people have loved you basically since day one. You've been frustrated. You played around players that are frustrated. You played around players who went after fans. What is the difference between, our room and us talking to fans and that locker room with those players and what had transpired on Saturday afternoon with Deshaun Watson?
Well, I'm sure all the players in that locker room that pay attention, and I say with the qualifier that pay attention because not every player in the locker room is listening to the ins and outs of every media conversation and every interview, but certainly they obviously heard about the comments that Deshaun made, and I'm sure they winced because there is one hard and fast rule in pro sports that if you go after your own fan base, you're going to lose just about no matter what it is, and especially when you're in Deshaun Watson's situation, giving up a king's ransom. You guys talked about the worst trade in the history of sports. Even owner Jimmy Haslam has said, swing and a miss. And there's been no return for the pain that the fan base has endured bringing Deshaun in thus far. If he plays well, he wouldn't get booed, but he has not played well. He's been injured. There's obviously been the legal cloud that happened right when he got here. So, yeah, the fans are upset. And then to go after the fans, you're just doubling down on the loss that you've already got. So it's not great. It puts players in that locker room in a difficult situation because now the first thing that happens is the media comes into the locker room. Like Ken used to try to torture me at my locker back when he was in the locker room when I was playing, stick the microphone in his face and say, hey, what do you think about what Deshaun said about the fans? And then now we have to answer for things that somebody else said about our fan base that was in the locker room.
Tone, one time, like in the very first days of the station, Chris Villar, when he worked here before he worked at the Ticket in Detroit, he went over to Joe and he's like, Joe, how you feeling? And Joe's like, pretty good. How are you feeling? Like because he was something about your knee, Joe, is what happened like in the early days of the fan, and he had brought it up, and I went, yep, already I like him. Already we're off to a good start. It was you and Willis McGahee who are my favorites in the locker room. Willis McGahee for a totally different reason.
Yeah.
Very different reason. A lot of fun. Very free-spirited. We're all big fans of Willis McGahee. All right, Joe, another thing that you can only give us the inside track to, and then Tone, I got to let you take over here. So you said all these things, and I think a lot of people are driving going, then why did you make Deshaun Watson the starter? Well, with all these things. All right, well, there's definitely something in the building. There's definitely something operational, quote unquote. There's definitely something that we can't see at practice. What makes Deshaun Watson the starter to start the season and then make Shooter the backup?
So Todd Monken, first-time NFL head coach. He's 60 years old, very well documented. He doesn't really care what anybody else thinks. He's going to make decisions on this day, what he feels is best for the franchise to win today. He knows that this is his probably one and only chance to be an NFL head coach. And so he doesn't have that history with Deshaun Watson or any of the other players that came here before him. And he doesn't really care. Like his mission, and he's very direct with everybody, with everything he says is, hey, I'm going to evaluate the team that I have right now based on these players. And I'm going to put the guys in for the first game of the season that I feel are the ones that give me the best chance to win. And when he has worked with these quarterbacks throughout the offseason and training camp, he's looking at his offense, which he's used to having a guy named Lamar Jackson, who's a two-play quarterback. He's said it a bunch throughout training camp. He wants a guy that can take the play at the line of scrimmage, see the defense, get to another play quickly because his plays a lot of times have two plays just built into the call where they're automatically able to read the defense, get into the right play based on what was called and what the defense is showing you, and then execute them throughout the course of the play. Hey, if things break down, he can now win with his legs, possibly scrambling, getting a first down, or getting outside the pocket and possibly making a play, throwing the football down the field, extending the play. He feels like that is Deshaun Watson as of today, even though it was very obvious calling the game over the weekend that Deshaun Watson played like poo and Shedeur Sanders played very well. However, there's context that's involved in Todd Monken's mind, what he's seen throughout the totality of training camp, what he's seen in the meeting rooms, and also understanding that in the preseason, there's just really not much of the playbook that you put out there. You are basically installing everything you possibly could have. But when you go into a game plan and you go into a week, you are tailoring your playbook for that team that you're playing against. And it becomes very much more complex. Defenses are quite a bit more complex. And Todd Monken is telling us, hey, this is not a decision for the whole season. This is a decision for week one. Who's going to be able to get to the line of scrimmage against the Jacksonville Jaguars and operate the offense as I designed for week one in the best manner possible? And he's telling us he believes that's right now Deshaun Watson. And you know what, as much as the timing is about as bad as it could be with how Deshaun played on Saturday and then the comments that he made after the game, and then, of course, the history he has with the fan base, like, this is Todd Monken saying, I don't care about any of that. I'm making a decision to try to win week one. And I think as a player who lived through the 1-31, the rebuild or the tank, whatever you want to call it, I think I am a little bit sensitive, and maybe the fan base could be a little bit, to the idea of, like, we're already playing for next year or the year after, and we're just trying to gather resources, because that was painful, and we saw what it can do to set back a franchise, but also a head coach, right, who feels like I am not actually being tasked with being the best team this year. And I think Todd Monken doesn't want to do that. He wants to try to win today, and then if tomorrow he needs to make a different decision at quarterback because that guy gives us the best chance to win, I think he's going to do that. And I know it's really tough for me, for you guys, for the fan base to try to reconcile with that because of the history we have. Like, that's not one of the things that is in Todd Monken's mind right now. And it's just the way it is because he doesn't really care about any of that other stuff right now. He's just trying to win week one.
Joe Thomas with us on the hotline. So Deshaun Watson supposedly had a pretty solid day of practice yesterday, but some of the reporting was interesting that now they're ratcheting up the RPO stuff, that him and Quidshawn were there in the backfield, and that was a big part of something that they were starting to put in. So is it safe to say that, you know, Todd Monken, this is where he's going to put his stamp, knowing what he was using last year with Lamar Jackson, the last few years? Now, this might be what the offense is going to truly look like when it comes to Deshaun Watson in week one.
Yeah, well, you guys probably saw a bunch of training camp like I did, and you saw little sprinkles of what that offense is probably going to look like during the season. And it does have a lot of those RPOs, those zone reads, those two-play opportunities for the quarterback. And I think that's probably one of the reasons, among, you know, a long list of evaluations that he made at that quarterback position, that he's favoring Deshaun Watson right now, because he likes his ability to pull the football, to run some of those RPOs, those zone reads, and give us a weapon running with the quarterback position, which Shedeur is not a great running quarterback. He is slippery, I would say. He has an ability to squeak out of the pocket and make guys miss, and you see that playmaking ability, but he's just not the athlete that Deshaun is.
Joe Thomas joining us here on the Wise Heart Right. We make it right. Call Kyle Right hotline. Well, how tough is that to then meld that? Because it's a very unpopular decision with the fans. And Todd, I know, can't care, but he's got to care because he's going to be asked about it every single waking moment of the day that he's with the media until a change is made. Do we lose Joe?
I'm listening. Oh. I thought there was a question in there maybe somewhere.
No,
is that just a declarative statement?
Well, no, I asked how tough is that for Todd when he makes that decision.
Yes, it's very tough, Ken. It's incredibly tough. Yes, because you're right. I mean, it is so unpopular. He has to know that. I mean, he knows that. The people in the PR department, they know that. Like, it's very obvious, but I think he doesn't have any of that history, and he just doesn't care at this point. But here's the one thing that he'll never say, nobody in the organization is going to say, but I guarantee it's in their mind as they made this decision. They know they start on the road for the first 2 weeks, and then they come home week 3. How Deshaun does in those first 2 weeks, he must play well. I would say he's probably got to win at least one out of those 2 games, or they're probably going to make a decision to change the quarterback and put Shedeur in for week 3, because can you imagine what that stadium would be like, and the distraction and the challenge of overcoming your own fan base? If you go 0-2, Deshaun doesn't play very well. And then week 3, he's the starter at your home opener. And after the reception that he got in the preseason game last Saturday, and then the comments that he made, like, there's no way that he wants to walk into that, and that has to weigh into the decision that he's made for the first couple games and specifically this first game, and then thinking about coming home at week 3.
You played on good offensive lines. You played on rough offensive lines that you were the crown jewel of. Tell fans how they will know that Spencer Fano is doing a good job, even if the rest of the offensive line, which is a bunch of perfect strangers before this training camp started, even if the rest of the offensive line struggles.
Well, I think it's going to be tricky. I mean, evaluating O-line play, it takes a high level of football IQ, something that only guys like me and Ken Carmen really, really, truly have, because you got to watch the guy on every single play, and it helps to understand the concept of the play and kind of what they're being asked to do. But I do think that you've seen great progress from him. You've heard his teammates praise him, especially Jared Verse, a guy that was kicking his butt early on in training camp, and he kind of went nose to nose with him, and they had a little tussle. And I think he earned a lot of respect from everybody for the type of competitor he is. But I think you're going to see good performance out of him. I think he's going to steadily improve during the season, like a lot of rookies, like you hope that rookies do. But I think when you watch him out there, of course he's going to get beat. He's a rookie, but I don't think he's going to get beat often. I think he's going to be very steady and consistent. And I think you're going to see some great play from him, and I'm excited to watch him. I mean, I think he's got a really, really bright future. He's already shown that he's taking this very seriously, and this is important. This is his identity. He's a left tackle. He wants to be a great Pro Bowl tackle in Cleveland for a long time. And I think when you combine that skill set that he has that made him the first offensive lineman off the board, and you combine that with the great attitude and the mentality that he brings to the position, I think the sky's the limit for that guy.
What did you think overall of the offensive line? We know they struggled big time in the running game to start out in the first preseason game, but it seemed like for Shedeur, they were on lockdown. They were doing a terrific job, keeping that pocket where it needs to be.
Yeah, first preseason game, the first offensive line, I think, did a good job in protection. There was not any lanes in the running game, so the running game was not very good. But they only played a handful of plays, and then it really fell off after that. But to your point, the joint practice against Buffalo, they were opening up some nice running lanes. I was thinking about Dylan Sampson on that run at the second half of practice. He's running an outside zone to his left, and he didn't even have to make a cut. I mean, there was a huge gash. Spencer Fano opened up, and he went 50 yards or so down the field, and that was something you're seeing consistently in that joint practice. When it was good on good, there was lanes in the running game. There was opportunities for a lot of yardage, and they didn't have Quinshon Judkins. And then you saw that carry over into the preseason game. There was plenty of space for the running back to be able to make yards, and the protection, the pockets were excellent. And one of the reasons we saw Shedeur Sanders play so well is he had a great pocket for that entire first half. And even when the second and third teams came in, I think the offensive line protected very well and opened up some nice running lanes. So I'm pretty optimistic, actually, that even though these are 5 new offensive linemen, I think it's a team on the offensive line that's going to gel really quickly, and they're going to be a big and physical running presence. And that's why they brought those guys in there. They brought George Warhop, who was my O-line coach for a long time. We called him General George because he's a tough guy. He's old school. He's blue collar. He demands physicality and attention to detail. And I think you're going to get that in the running game. So I think they're going to be able to run the football, and I think this is going to be an offensive line that is going to be one of the bright spots on this team.
You can bring Jerky to a deer stand, to a deer blind?
I hope you do. It's a crime if you don't. What else are you going to eat?
I never have.
Acorns?
I never have. I was afraid. I was afraid the scent would throw them off.
No, it'll bring them in. They love jerky. You ever thrown jerky out there on your bait pile? Oh, man, that is a secret sauce. It's better than apples.
What? I never did. I just was like, well, they're probably going to smell this, so I can't do it. And I've had buddies who have done it, but I never did it. So, of course, everybody knows you got Hall of Fame Farms going. Fall's around the corner. There is a chance to get the discount on the monthly subscription to the jerky. Great for snacks, for lunches, for the kiddos. Also, great to take. Which now I'm learning now. I guess I can take it. I can't get up in a deer stand because that's going to be bad for me. But I can still take it into the deer blind. Is what you're telling me.
Yeah, everybody knows that old timer that smokes a pack a day. That's just chain smoking in the deer stand that shoots the big 10-pointer. So you got to play the win, Ken. I'm telling you right now. Don't let that bait pile downwind. But it's the secret of all secrets. Throw that Hall of Fame jerky on your bait pile. You'll have every 10-pointer, every monster buck within the area coming in like clockwork, baby. And you'll be happier too, because then you can enjoy a nice snack. You can spend more time in the deer stand. And if you're a mom out there, you're throwing these in your kid's backpack. Now that school has just started for my kids, it was yesterday. You're going to be the most popular kid in class. You don't want to miss out. And like Ken said, we got the jerky subscription so that you get to order, you sign up. We got a nice little discount going right now on the monthly subscription. And the beauty is then you don't have to think about it. And then those delicious morsels of beef are showing up at your door on a monthly basis. You can pick your flavors. My favorite is the bourbon. My kids, they really like the barbecue, little sweetness. My son, Jack, he likes the teriyaki, but that's all personal preference because whatever you go with, it's amazing, and it'll make you a successful hunter this fall.
Bourbon beef, peppered beef, barbecue, as you had just said. They have ass kicker beef jerky, the teriyaki, and with the with a kick beef jerky as well. Hall of Fame Farms. HallOfFameFarms.com, okay? I think people know where it is. I'm sure they've looked, but there's also a discount that's involved. You can get the All-Star Pack, the Rookie Pack, the Hall of Famer Pack. It's all there for you. Joe, can't thank you enough for the time. I appreciate the advice on the deer stand. I appreciate your time. We do, and we'll talk to you again shortly.
Thanks for having me on, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Joe Thomas,